Hello, welcome to the Multicultural Community Project. I'm your host, President of the Multicultural Community Project, Yvonne Spear. Today my guest is Mr. Ernest Coverson from the Southside NAACP's AXO program. Hello, Ernest.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Tell me a little bit about the AXO program and how it got started and the founder.
Great. So AXO is a program for African American students through NAACP. It started here actually in Southside Chicago back in the 70s by Vernon Jarrett, which was a renowned Pulitzer Prize winning author here out of Chicago that wanted to highlight African American students in more than just sports. Many times we're regulated to the sports arena and get those students are put on a higher pedestal. But he wanted to do something for students that also highlighted their academic achievements. And so he created the AXO. So it's African American Cultural, Technological, Scientific Olympics. And so it's a program where African American students, high school students, are able to compete in about 29 categories, from the sciences to STEMs, to the arts, to entrepreneurship, to culinary, which is one of our new categories.
Okay.
And so they compete locally, and it's set up like the Olympics. They compete locally and are able to win the bronze, silver, gold medals. And then the gold medalists then go on to the national competition, which is held every summer.
Okay.
And this year will be in Philadelphia. And so they're able to compete against other African American high school students from around the country in their particular category.
Oh, okay. In doing some of my research, I found out that Vernon Jarrett started this program here in Chicago and it's gone nationwide as a result.
Correct.
And some of your famous alumni, shall I say, Anthony Anderson, Jada Pinkett Smith,
correct.
Tell us
John Singleton.
Okay.
Kanye West has been part of it. Jennifer Hudson has been part of it. And so, it's a plethora of the, some of the non-entertainment style side of it, too. Some of the scientists have been involved in the AXO program as well. And correct, it started here in Chicago. And some of the viewers may remember some of the televised award ceremonies that took place in the 80s here in Chicago. And so he presented it to NAACP National Office when Dr. Benjamin Hooks was the president and CEO. And Dr. Hooks loved the program, thought it was great, adopted the program, and they took it nationwide. So from coast to coast, there are AXO programs around the country that African American students are performing and participating in and winning and excelling in this academic part of their lives.
Now, most of you are what is your position with it?
I'm one of the committee members, and then my specific role is to recruit coaches and judges for the competition. And so we provide, for students that don't have coaches or mentors in their particular category, we try to provide adults that have the profession or the expertise, say in biology or in poetry or in entrepreneurship, that could help mentor and coach the students and prepare them for the competition. So I look at recruiting those individuals as well as the judges for competition day. And so on that day in April, typically we have it at Little Black Pearl High School. And we have the competition. Each category has a set of judges. The students perform their skill set, whatever it may be, whatever category, and the judges judge that at that time. And so, my job is recruiting those individuals.
Oh, so some of your board members, as well as your committee members, are actually former winners of AXO and have been through the program?
Correct. Our chairman, Brian Hudson, participated in AXO as well. He's a licensed architect now. Also, one of our fellow other committee members, Aaron Green, also participated in AXO, and he's a licensed architect now. And so I did not perform or compete in AXO, but I've been part of NAACP on the more activist side, and then was on staff with NAACP. And so we've all been around the program. And I know Brian worked with Mr. Jarrett, and he was one of his mentors as he got involved with AXO and that kind of thing here in Chicago as well.
Oh, okay. So if someone wants to become involved, what's your website and how can they become involved?
Our website is AXO SouthsideChicago.org, and they can reach us there. They can also find us on Facebook, same title, on Facebook, and we're out next Saturday at Bessie Coleman Library from 10 to 12. We will have our mentoring sessions, our enrichment sessions, where we work with the students in their categories, help them start to fine tune and get ready for competition. And that will be next Saturday.
What's the date on that?
February 28th.
Okay.
And we're there every other Saturday.
Every other Saturday.
On Bessie Coleman Library from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So they can come out there too.
What are your next upcoming events with AXO?
Our competition will be April. April, the date escapes me right now. But our competition date is in April, so we will have that. And then we have our awards ceremony after the competition. They don't learn, they win that day. We hold that back and we do that. That will be in May, where we will have an actual ceremony to award the students their medals and have the winners. So we build up that anticipation.
So how do you recruit these students? How do you find them?
Word of mouth, and we also come out to schools, come out to churches, any program that would invite us out or we're out. It's open to any Southside high school African American student to get involved. And so our committee members and myself go out and do presentations at schools, and then word of mouth. Our students that's currently in also do recruiting for us, because we find that they're the best recruiters. And getting their friends, their colleagues to come out and participate in the program. So, and it's open. There's no charge to get involved in the program. We have our national competition that's in July, where the students will be going to Philadelphia to compete at the national competition, and all of that is provided by NAACP.
So what is the benefit of children becoming involved in this program?
It's multifaceted benefits. They not only get to highlight their skill that's not particular in a sport, that always in our community many times get the highlight versus a student that's trying to dissect a cell. Or do some other chemistry type of thing, or do writing stories. So they get to be promoted and pumped up for that. They also get leadership skills and understanding how they are developed and how they can go out and take on challenges around the country and meet other students that's doing the same thing as them. Thirdly, I would say is that the experience and the exposure that they get. Last year after we came back, we was talking with students and doing some debrief that, some of the students, this was their first time outside of Chicago, the first time on an airplane, first time, taking trips or, eating at different restaurants and that kind of thing. So not only do they get the exposure for their skill set, but they get life skills and they get life exposure with the program itself. And so that propels them to a whole nother level. Once they come back and have to go back to their high school, and it many times changes their view of their lives.
So do you find programs like this help dispel the myth that our children are only good at musical or at sports and we don't flourish in other areas as well?
I think so. The exposure that the program gives to the students and that the students get being exposed to the program, kind of dispels that myth that, all we can do is dance and play and throw a ball. But that we have students that put together great entrepreneurial programs, and they have to write a whole business plan. You have students that are working on very complicated science projects. They're just not trying to build a volcano. They're really dealing with dissecting cells and figuring out how things work. You got students that are in the culinary arts. We were lucky. Year before last, in 2013, we brought back the national gold medalist in culinary. We brought back the national gold medal in poetry. Last year, we brought back the silver medal in culinary. And so we have students that are, under 18 and still in high school that are creating 3- and 5-star meals and not just making a grilled cheese sandwich. but really cooking and making these meals great. And so it does expose them and the rest of the world to the talent that the African American students have that we are not, that they don't get the constant accolades for.
What are the deliverables that your program offers when those kids, they get ready to go to that next step as college or whatever vocation that they decide to go in? How do they make that transition? A lot of kids have a hard time making that adjustment from high school or being that teenager to being a young adult. How does it help with their confidence level?
It boosts their confidence level greatly. We, our students, not only amongst themselves, but they meet other students just like them. They, they are our gold medalist actually in poetry. She's down now at University of Illinois. Her college roommate, she met at the National AXO Committee competition. And so they met there, came back home, became friends, and now they're roommates in college. And so they're building off of each other and continue that push. And so this program exposes them and just helps them that way.
It sounds like a great program. So if someone is interested in becoming a judge, contributing, or how do they get in touch with you?
They can get in contact with me directly. They can email me directly. Email address is ERNIEERN@AOL.com.
Can you repeat that for us?
ERNIEERN@AOL.com. And I could take care of them if they want to make donations. That would be great.
Okay.
Because we always need donations. But if they would like to be a judge, if they would like to help coach students, I can really connect them. Or if they have students that they would like to get involved, they can most definitely email me that way, and I could direct them the way they need to be
So
directed.
there are no costs to the program?
Correct. The program is totally free for the students.
Okay.
We just want them to be dedicated to being part of Team Chicago Southside and bringing home the gold.
Okay. And you said you had several gold members.
Yeah. We have 3 national gold medalists in the last 2 years, and 2 silver national gold medalists in sculpture.
Okay.
We had 2 silver medals in sculpture.
Wow.
And so you never hear of black students doing sculptures.
Yes.
So the program it exposes them, and we get exposed to the talent that our students have.
So what is the website again?
The website is axosouthsidechicago.org, and if they go on there, find out, or Facebook us, and we can get them connected and get them involved, or email me. Either way.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And again, this is Yvonne Spear with the Multicultural Community Project. Thank you, and have a great day. Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to the Multicultural Community Project. I am the president of the Multicultural Community Project. My name is Yvonne Spear, and I'm your host. Today, our guest is Mr. Eric Arnold, Executive Director of LifeBuilders. Hello, Eric. How are you?
All right, yourself. How are you doing?
I'm good. So tell me a little bit about LifeBuilders. I've heard some great things about you.
Well, LifeBuilders is an organization, a non-for-profit, that does a lot of work with at-risk youth in the Chicago public school system. We work with students who are having a difficult time with dealing with substance abuse, trauma, or behavior issues that's interrupting their academic performance at this time. So we go in and we provide individual counseling, group interventions, and we also provide parent education as well.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
so you take care of those kind of a little bit of those struggles that teenagers ordinarily go through, and then some of the more extreme cases.
Yes, ma'am. We do. We work with schools and helping them to identify students who are problematic students that are having a difficult time adjusting to normal school life. And we work with them in individuals, we work with their family, we do home visits to kind of see what we can do to help the child to understand the purpose of his education and how important it really is. So we go in to try to troubleshoot and help them to understand these obstacles will have an everlasting impact if we don't identify them now at this point in time in their lives.
So the cognitive issues, if I said the word correctly, are most of the things that you deal with. Why has things affected you this way? What difference is this going to make in my life? What path? All of those questions. And how do I separate the conflicts that may be going on in my personal life from what's going on in my student life?
Well, kind of, sort of. What we do, first of all, the students that we primarily work with don't even realize that they're faced with trauma or faced with difficulties that are obstacles. These things that are going on in their personal lives have been so normalized that they don't see them as actually being the issue or the problem. You know, so our job is to first get in the schools and to help them to identify, most importantly, the problem. Once we get the student to identify what the real problem is, then we can actually work on a real solution.
Oh, okay. So how do you walk that line to teach a student that may have lived through a lot of instability what's normal and what's not normal? How do you determine to that student that this is not normal and these are the things that we have to change?
Well, you know, that is the task. And, you know, we have well-trained staff, people who are clinically trained, who know how to help individuals, help these students to identify the problems that have been plaguing them and that have been affecting them academically. So, you know, and to answer your question, it's a task. It's a task that we have to be well prepared to go into. We have to get some information about the student from the school when we go in. After we identify some of the information, some of the issues that the child has been struggling with, we then begin the process of screening the child, identifying some of his problems and some of his issues, and then talking with the child, winning his confidence, you know, letting him know that we are there actually to help and not just passing through. And once that happens, you know, it helps tremendously for the child to know that we are not just another entity or another person just talking to them. So we've had some good outcomes thus far. And so, you know, we work really hard at, you know, trying to help children to find better ways. And thus far, it's been working well.
I find that a lot of people, there's a lot of frustration with our children right now, and it seems to be a gap that they don't understand us, we don't understand them. And how do you break that cycle? I mean, when someone, and it has been, certain behavior has been passed down, that this is acceptable throughout their family cycle, and now in their generation, how do you teach them or deprogram of this, that this is the normalcy and what you've been living and what your family has been living for the past 30, 40 years is not normal?
It's a task to help a child to understand that, let's say, gang affiliation is not a normal behavior. If that's the family, that's the cycle that they've been living in, where everybody's a part of an organization, everybody in the family is using drugs. You have to come with some factual information to help them to clearly understand that the choices that they're making are going to have long-term effects. So asking them, what do they really desire for their life, is a good place to start. You know, as opposed to trying to tell them what the consequences would be, you know, if they continue down this path. You know, once you help a child begin to identify what he or she would really like to do with their life, then you ask them questions like, well, are you on that path to accomplish those things? You know, and if they say no, then you ask them why not.
Okay.
And then you can begin to open a dialogue with the child or help him to begin to explore within himself. Why is he not or she not on the path to fulfill those desires that they have within themselves? You know, so we cannot go in, and we do not go in, you know, down playing, you know, their family culture.
Okay.
You know, we do not attack that. You know, if you attack that, then they're going to do what? Defend it.
Defense.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So you have to ask them open-end questions to help them to get the response that you would like to help them to better understand that what's happening over here is not what they really want in the
Okay.
long run, in the scheme of things.
But how do you address a child that may be 10 or 5th grade and you ask them that question and they say, well, I'm going to be a gangbanger. My brother's a gangbanger, my uncle's a gangbanger, my father was a gangbanger, and, you know, my grandfather. So
Well, you
how
know,
do you do that?
that's a good question. Primarily, the students that we work with 6th graders to 12th graders.
Okay.
So that age group, we have people that are trained to work with them, but we work with that older group because they're more at risk than that younger child is in the poor decision making, because it's actually starting to show up. It actually does show up. You're absolutely right about 5th grade. The behaviors start to become extreme, but the contract that we hold currently only allows us to work with that population on up to senior years in high school. So what we do is we help them, like I say, even that 6th grader, that 11-year-old, we help that child to begin to understand, help him to begin to understand the choices that he or she is making is not heading he or she in the right direction. So like I said, it's work that we've been trained to do, and you know, to just kind of give you an idea of how we do it in 5 minutes is, you know, kind of difficult. So, but it's work that's consistent, and that's one of the things that has to happen on our part, is that we have to be consistent in working with the child.
Now, I know that our children, they don't identify with historical role models. When we get in Black History Month, those ideas and those perceptions are so far away from them that Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and all of those people, and one of my favorite is Harriet Tubman, but they almost see those people as almost fictionalized because it was so long ago. So the people that they're identifying with and that they're seeing are the images that they see every day. And they're not, the images that they're seeing are the rap stars and the people on, Quick Fix, the reality shows and all of this, that those things aren't real. So how do you get them to look at things realistically as opposed to fictionalize of what their perception is on television?
Well, you actually get them to begin to identify with their surroundings, their immediate surroundings.
Okay.
You know, within their community, within their school, within their home. You help them to then connect with where they're really at, and how what their perception of what these other people have, this vision of, you know, what a rap star is and a basketball player. You know, when I hear a child say, I want to be a professional basketball player, you know, that, I mean, it's a honorable, you know, a profession if you make it to that level. But I ask them questions like, what are you doing to become that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, so the question is always, are you working to become that thing that you desire? And if the answer is no, then why not?
So as a professional, how can people reach out to you and get connected and maybe become more involved in what you do, or volunteer, or however?
Well, currently we're new. We're a new organization. We've been around for just a few years, and so currently the way to get in touch with us is through and my email, which is lifebuilders71@yahoo.com. If there is an interest for volunteering or even an interest to being a facilitator or a clinician or a mentor with our organization, that would be the route to connect with me, and I would be able to screen them and bring them in and see if they got what it takes to work with our children.
Oh, okay. So that means I could call you and bring all my bad kids to you, right?
Well, there ain't no such thing as bad children.
No.
See, you know, children who make bad decisions, but there's no such thing as a bad child.
I believe that too. I just think most of our kids are very intelligent, and the thing is, they have to transfer that idealize what they have in their head to real life. And I think that's what happens, is that a lot of our kids glamorize things and they don't see the difference or distinguish the difference, or their minds aren't developed enough to develop what's real and what's not real. And I think, you know, your group helps them distinguish that and, you know, lead themselves on a better path in life.
Right. Well, you know, one of the things that we all take to heart, the people that's within my organization, is that we know that we have an uphill job, and we take it very seriously. We know that this is an opportunity for us to make an implant in a child's life. You know, I like what I've read one time where this individual had stated that a child's heart is like cement. And you know how cement dries real quick. And if you put an imprint in it, that imprint stays there for the life of the concrete. Absolutely. Well, that's the same with children. You know, their hearts are fragile and they're innocent, and in their youth. And when we make those imprints can last a lifetime.
Absolutely.
Positive or negative. So we want to make sure that we try to make positive imprints in the hearts of children that we encounter on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, that's great. So how can someone, again, get in touch with you?
At LifeBuilders71@yahoo.com.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
It was very informative.
It was my pleasure.
And if you would like to know more about our guests or the Multicultural Community Project, you can go to our website, which is www.multiculturalcommunityproject.com. Thank you again. This is Yvonne Spear. Bye-bye.
Bye.